Okay, Mike, thanks for getting us started. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Centurion Research Solutions webinar about the fundamentals of competitive pricing. I'm your host, Rich Thielen, General Manager here at Centurion. I appreciate everyone joining us for what will be an information-packed session. A little bit of background on Centurion. We track 25,000 plus federal government opportunities across multiple vertical markets and support all four of these major industry challenges. We provide leading-edge federal market research through our Business Intelligence Now product, enabling you to find more federal opportunities earlier. We offer actionable insight through our custom research and analysis offering. Our Opportunity Assessment Now tool allows you to make fact-based bid, no-bid decisions and manage the health of your business pipeline. Finally, we offer competitive pricing analysis, training, and coaching to improve your business development process. Together, these products and services were created with one thing in mind, helping you, our clients, win more business. This is our 12th webinar in Centurion's Government Contractor Knowledge webinar series. Today's webinar was developed with the assistance of Al Freer, Centurion's pricing expert. Al brings a wealth of experience with strategic pricing and cost modeling, analytics, and federal business development. He oversees the delivery of strategic and tactical pricing and cost modeling services while also providing subject matter expertise to Centurion's Analytical Competency Center. Al's contact information will be provided at the end of the webinar for pricing professional services inquiries. Today's host, Mike Lisagor, is the founder of CelerityWorks and Centurion's business development subject matter expert. A former BD executive and capture manager, Mike has been helping government contractors accelerate their revenue growth for decades. Al Freer, Centurion's pricing expert, also contributed to today's briefing. We are recording today's event. An on-demand copy, as well as a copy of the slides, will be available tomorrow on the Centurion website. Finally, in consideration of your busy schedules, we'll be continuing this discussion at our company blog right after the conclusion of today's webinar. So without further ado, Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Rich, and all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. We've got a lot of exciting information to cover, so I'll jump right in. This diagram illustrates the 10 major factors that influence winning an opportunity. These factors form the backbone of Centurion's Opportunity Assessment Now analytic tool. Information about each of these factors is gathered during one or more of the opportunity business development phases. For a more detailed explanation of all 10 factors, I'd refer you to the Capture Planning webinar on the Knowledge section of the Centurion website. Today, I'll concentrate on the 3 factors highlighted here in blue. These are the 5 types of competitive pricing analysis that should inform your pricing strategy. The customer's available funding for the opportunity, the customer's should cost analysis for the opportunity, the customer's award history and tendencies, your estimation of the project scope and cost, and your company's overall opportunity-specific price competitiveness. These 5 factors drive your pricing strategy for the opportunity. The objective of these analyses is simple: to improve your probability of win. Understanding the funding status of a federal opportunity is one of the most often ignored but critical bid factors. Identifying the funding source and whether the project is in the budget and stable is key to determining if the program is viable. Performing a customized analysis of a particular pursuit, customer, and client is critical to developing a winning price, especially on more complex bids. First, research all available documents for the target pursuit. Then analyze the past award tendencies of the particular customer. Try to determine whether they have set aside a budget reserve for change proposals, risk mitigation, and for their program office. And finally, identify what percentage and amount of the budget will be available to the contractor to perform the work. This analysis will help you determine the probable ceiling price, a funding estimate confidence factor, the financial rationale for making a bid decision, and serve as a critical element of the pricing strategy. A should cost analysis is a pursuit-specific analysis. It's what the government thinks the program should cost based on past programs and future influencing factors. It's usually accomplished by a combination of budget analysis, bottom-up cost builds, and comparisons with similar programs. It also provides a data point for bid-no-bid decisions and developing bid strategies. The government does not always perform a should-cost analysis, and when they do not always release it to the contractors. Even if the government has not performed a should-cost analysis, contractors often still do, based on previous similar programs and customer award tendencies. Here's a notional example of a should-cost analysis for a software development project. This should-cost process is highly dependent on the dynamics of the pursuit and, of course, the availability of information. As we all know, the federal government has entered an extreme phase of cost competitiveness where a majority of bids are being awarded on the basis of lowest price technically acceptable. This means that you need to have competitive pricing information readily available in order to develop winning pricing strategies. Knowing what the agency and individual stakeholders, both influencers and decision makers, award tendencies are and how favorably or unfavorably they view your company and the competition are essential considerations in your decision to bid. One key question is how sensitive are they to price? Perform reverse engineering on existing contracts in your market and service area with available financial information to determine burden labor rates, direct labor rates, average rate per hour, and total contract value. This data will assist in determining whether to bid on a recompete or similar contract, and if so, what the competition, including the incumbents, might bid. Of course, all the information you need isn't always available, but if not, our pricing experts can often ferret it out. These types of analyses provide insight into the competition's wrap rates and bidding strategies. It allows you to see if you are competitive with a particular competitor. This analysis is done for many of the opportunities in Business Intelligence Now database at no extra charge. And if a client is interested in a particular opportunity where the necessary data is available but not yet done, we will complete the analysis for the client at no charge. Here's an example of using contract budget and financial reporting data to identify which projects are most likely to have recompetes that are well funded. In this example, an information technology services contract could expire in 3 years or sooner. As shown here, if the contract has reported an amount close to the spending ceiling, it might be recompeted early. The incumbent contractor has been performing well enough to have received a significant portion of the contract value, and the follow-on contract will probably also be well funded. This is important information to have when making a decision whether to pursue the recompete. Or, if shown here, the reported spending is on track, then the contract will most likely run its full term unless the incumbent contractor is performing poorly or the project's hit with unexpected budget cuts. It also means that the contract has a fairly high probability of being fully funded in the future, which influences your pricing estimate. Finally, if the reported spending is well below the budget baseline or expected spending, then the contractor may be performing poorly, the program may not be seen as really required by the customer, or it may be a target for restructuring or early recompete. There are two major types of contracts to reverse engineer. The first involves labor rate schedules, where labor categories are listed with fully burdened labor rates, in which case you map salaries to labor categories. You calculate the wrap rate by dividing fully burdened labor rate by salary. You remove the obvious gamed rates, apply a discount if appropriate, and then average the resulting individual wrap rates. The second type of contracts are those where total hours and total labor dollars are available or calculable. If total hours and total hours by year are available, assumptions are made or actuals are given regarding other direct charges, travel, and materials based on the contractor's statement of work. Burden labor dollars are calculated by subtracting these out. Labor categories are mapped to salaries from various surveys and databases to calculate direct unburned labor dollars. And then this provides insight into the competition's wrap rates and bidding strategies and allows you to see if you're competitive with this particular competitor. Labor contract pricing greatly benefits from a custom competitive wrap rate analysis. There are two basic methods: reverse engineering, as previously discussed, and bottom up using Centurion's set of standard wrap rate models, then deviating from those based on open source differences for a particular target. This usually includes multiple targeted competitors in a particular market for a particular pursuit. We can also include a competitive assessment relating to the impact of the analysis on pricing this specific opportunity. There are also two basic overall proposal cost estimating methods: top-down, which is based on similar projects, and bottom-up, which is developed by estimating each cost and element of a project. A preliminary project work breakdown structure, or WBS, provides you with a structure that defines the task or work that needs to be performed to meet project objectives. It organizes and defines the total scope of the project. Development of the final WBS should be a team activity to develop consensus and understanding of the scope and work plan necessary to complete the project. A WBS should illustrate the project activities at successfully lower levels of detail, but no further than necessary to assist with the management of the project. It is important to understand that this process is about defining how you will perform the job, not just a regurgitation of the statement of work. Some projects require earned value management. In these cases, you will need to factor in earned value discrete work packages. The WBS will also need to reflect whether you are planning a fixed price product, a level of effort, or a defined task product. Earned value management is a scheduling cost system used to assist project teams and customers in assessing progress, provide early warning of the need for corrective action, and estimates of future schedule and cost based on current progress. It's too complex a topic to cover in a 27-minute webinar. However, your pricing estimate will need to incorporate the necessary resources and schedule time to accommodate earned value management. Finally, your WBS and resulting pricing must also take into consideration configuration management and quality review activities. There are several approaches that can be taken to define a work breakdown structure, for instance by function or by deliverable. Regardless, it should clearly identify necessary tasks and should be used to develop schedules, cost estimates, skill sets, and project risks. Shown here are two simple examples of a possible WBS for the development of 3 training modules. The WBS on the left is arranged by functional phase: plan, implement, and accept. While the second WBS on the right has been structured around each of the 3 training modules. Several factors influence this decision, but that's one level of detail I'll spare you today. It's sometimes easier to picture the relationship between the various work elements in a graphical representation, such as the one pictured here, where the categories of work to be performed are clearly outlined. In this example of building a house, the foundation, rough construction, and finished construction are each decomposed into their constituent subtasks, with corresponding WBS paragraph numbers as shown in the small white boxes. Each work element or activity should have a measurable milestone, such as review complete, and if possible, a definable output or deliverable. The start and end event should be clearly defined. The activity duration and cost should be easily estimated. And work assignments should be independent and definable. But don't overwork the WBS. It should be only as detailed as necessary to describe what you need to manage the project. Keep in mind the burden being placed on the company support staff of dealing with too many work and cost elements. One final point, be certain to check that all the special requirements in the RFP, for instance, many Department of Defense contracts specify Military Standard 881, which gives specific direction regarding WBS development. This is an example from the design phase of a software development project. It is only a part of the overall WBS, but it illustrates the decomposition of two major tasks, shown in yellow, into subtasks, shown in light green. These subtasks are discrete activities that can be measured, and if required, for which earned value can also be tracked. The key activities necessary to determine your competitive bid price are to analyze competitive landscape, analyze the customer's view, their likes and dislikes, determine the agency's pricing award history, model the competition's pricing, develop a cost basis and justification, and consider your ability to successfully perform at the bid price, especially on fixed price or performance-based contracts. Your pricing strategy and estimate needs to take into consideration the contract type. Familiarize yourself with Federal Acquisition Regulation Part 16. It describes the federal regulations for each of these and several other contract types. Anyone who does proposal pricing should be familiar with the provisions of this document, which can be found online. Here's a list of competitive pricing data. Research GSA and other rate schedules, labor category, burden labor rates for your specific service areas and target agencies. Next, map these labor categories to various salary surveys and calculate the burden for each labor category. Identify and discard gamed or unused labor rates, and then average remaining rates into competitive wrap rates. This analysis provides you with insight into the wrap rates and bidding strategies of competitors. Clearly, all of this analysis can seem overwhelming, but especially on highly competitive bids, the hard work has been proven to pay enormous dividends. Here's an example of Centurion's Business Intelligence Now competitive pricing data from a real multiple award contract, just to give you an idea of what's available. By understanding where your company falls in this competitive range as it relates to the customer's probable should cost and the likely competitors, you can determine if you should even bid the job. And if so, what changes or actions you might need to make to your capture strategy, including staffing mix, to achieve your target price. If the scenario shown here was a best value procurement, then your company's position might be sufficient, assuming you have outstanding key personnel, excellent client relations, and past performance. On the other hand, the delta between your price and the company A and B prices shown on the left probably wouldn't allow the government to award you the contract if this was a lowest price technically acceptable procurement. There are, of course, much more sophisticated pricing tools and methodologies, but for many smaller contracts, even a simple cost competitive exercise like this can make a big difference. For a more detailed treatment of competitive pricing, you can download a pricing white paper from our website, Knowledge Center. A company price competitive analysis should be performed if you are consistently losing on price, moving into a new market segment, reorganizing, or transitioning from a small business to a larger business. A company's overall price competitive analysis consists of an analysis of your business unit's financial structure, including cost pools, disclosure statement details, and previous bidding practices. This will help you determine if you are cost competitive in a particular market and is a customized analysis for the business unit and market segment. Shown here are some of the key financial elements of your pricing approach, including fee, profit, subcontracted material, other direct charges, and capital investments. The bid pricing strategy also often evolves over time as teaming arrangements are solidified and further competitive information is gathered. Each version of the capture plan should further refine this strategy. The next pricing strategy slides present several complex pricing elements that may be new. I'd encourage you to download this material later for review and even discuss it with some of your company's finance and pricing experts or a Centurion pricing expert like Al Freer. Companies use different terms to refer to labor rates and cost structure. A labor rate, sometimes called a direct rate, is a term that needs to be modified with either the word unburdened or burdened to make complete sense. An unburdened labor rate is the hourly rate being paid to an employee. A proposed burdened labor rate is the hourly labor rate fully burdened with general and administrative costs, or G&A, overhead, and fee that you are proposing to the government for a specific labor category. See your project controller to get the financial related overhead structure you should be incorporating into your price estimate. A negotiated, fully burdened rate is the final negotiated hourly labor rate on an improved or awarded contract. A price wrap rate is a factor that when multiplied by an hourly labor rate equals the final fully burdened rate, including profit. For instance, 1.7 or 1.9. An operating unit is a collection of similar work within a definable organizational unit that applies the same wrap rate to hourly labor rates. In other words, an operating unit, sometimes called a cost center, has the same fringe, benefits, overhead, and G&A structure. On labor contracts, labor category information is a component of your capture strategy. Some of this information can be found in Centurion's BI Now and Freedom of Information requests for previous contracts and proposals. It can also be inferred from companies' published GSA schedule rates, keeping in mind that these are often discounted further. Centurion's pricing experts can help with your pricing strategy. Now, let's discuss the overall company pricing structure, which, if not carefully crafted, can submarine individual opportunity pricing activities. Here are the components that make up your labor and indirect costs. Essentially, the fringe, overhead, G&A, and fee make up the additional costs that are added to the direct labor rate to establish the amount that will be billed to the government. This information, by the way, is very company competition sensitive. As shown on the left axis of this graph, federal contractors provide a full range of services, from less skilled but no less important labor contracts to more complex design, hardware, and software contracts. These lend themselves to lower or higher corresponding indirect costs, as shown along the bottom of the graph. In other words, you need to take into consideration what wrap rate competitors who are providing a similar service or product are bidding. Unfortunately, the recent increase in lowest price, technically acceptable contract awards has had a dampening effect on wrap rates and the fees companies are able or willing to bid. Contractors need to find a balance between winning and being able to perform, and in some cases, walking away. Too often, companies don't take the time to analyze their cost pool structure and cost elements, such as those shown in this example from a design build project that you can download later. This assessment should be related to the company's bidding practices and to these pools and disclosure statement details to determine if the rates are competitive in a particular market. What I want to show you now is our bottom-up wrap rate development process. We don't always know company-specific wrap rate structure, cost components, or wrap rates. And even if we somehow did, the data is proprietary, and we're ethically bound to keep that data in confidence. But first we look at various factors considered in wrap rate development, such as benefits, 401k, and vacation. Then we calculate direct labor using applicable salaries from a variety of sources. Based on a target competitor's benefits and other fringe components, we calculate fringe rate. These include Social Security, Medicare, workman's comp, paid holidays, sick time, and several other benefits. Next, deviating from market-based standard models, we target specific differences and then calculate the overhead rate. Overhead calculation includes the benefit, business unit general management and staff, as well as other business unit expenses, including facilities, security, and any other indirect expenses. G&A rates are calculated the same way, but we rely more heavily on 10K filings and financial statements that are available in open source. The G&A calculation includes the organization and corporate management and staff, as well as expenses for executive and support staff, sales, marketing, business development, corporate allocations, and bid and proposal costs. The final chart on the lower left illustrates the final competitive rate analysis. Determining the price your company needs to bid to win is, of course, a critical component of the capture phase. This activity should begin, where possible, well before RFP release. The pricing complexity will vary greatly between product, software, hardware, and services contracts. The opportunity lead, whether a BD professional or a capture manager, along with pricing leads assistants, should gather competitive pricing information as well as prior agency award history. In general, there are two major agency pricing evaluation models. The first is when the government selects the lowest price bidder that is technically acceptable. The second is to select the bidder that provides the most value to the customer at a reasonable price. For the purposes of the capture plan and pricing strategy, identify the customer's stated or most likely proposal evaluation strategy, realizing that the stated preference may not end up matching their reality. Try to identify the customer's typical award criteria for the specific type of contract you're interested in bidding. What is the relative importance of price? Clearly, this information will help you to develop the highest possible scoring for pricing strategy and proposal. This is a pricing example from the transition phase of a project WBS in an Excel spreadsheet form. It illustrates how you can document the labor hours for each of the WBS subtasks and then calculate the corresponding budget dollars by multiplying the hours times the fully burdened labor rate. In general, a task should be broken down until you can adequately monitor and control that task. When Centurion's pricing experts do pricing analysis, they strictly adhere to these professional standards. Projects are tailored to the specific client needs. We don't force your pricing requirements into a canned model. We make sure non-disclosure agreements are in place to protect your confidential and proprietary data. We hold analysis projects in strictest confidence. Every pricing engagement is exclusive to you, and Centurion does not publicly publish client names and engagements. In these highly competitive times, more and more companies are relying on Centurion's products and services to enhance every phase of their business development process. I hope you can join us for our next Government Contractor Knowledge webinar on Tuesday, July 16th, when I'll share bad experiences selling to the government and what we can learn from them. Please email your nightmares and lessons learned to experience@forcenturion.com. All submittals will be kept anonymous and company names changed. The first 300 to register and attend will receive a detailed set of business development do's and don'ts. Feel free to email one of the individuals shown on this slide for further information. Post any questions or comments regarding today's webinar at our company blog. A copy of today's slides will be available at the web address listed here, and a recording of this session will be uploaded by tomorrow. I'll be sending out an email tomorrow to all attendees with the web links, a registration link for the next webinar, and the promised competitive pricing checklist. Based on today's large attendance, I'd again recommend registering early. I'll leave this slide up for the next 5 minutes, and until July 16th, I thank you for your attention. I wish you a great summer and happy hunting.
Mike, thank you very much for what was a great session today. Fantastic. For those of you that have any follow-on questions, as Mike mentioned, feel free to email Mike, or you can contact Al Freer, our Vice President of Pricing Solutions. Again, thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you for the next webinar.